Okay.
We're back.
Hey.
So, recap from last time.
Right, that's me.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So we started off last session, basically, waking up after the shark debacle, which the shark debacle happened in between the session before and last session. And eventually, got told that the researcher, scribe, something, the Alistair was free, for a talk and compare of this world's magic versus ours and what we could maybe expect. Alsana went and talked to him, had a nice conversation, found out about certain spells like True Counterspell, which is like a normal counterspell, but also lets you kind of hijack the spell. As well as just a few handfuls. There's no such thing as the investitures on this side because on our side some lady made them. There's a few other things that are missing that I can't quite remember. And then there were some spells that they had that was fun, including Stone Bolt. Fucking Unga Bunga magic.
Unga Bunga magic.
Um,
I said it from the beginning. I miss my spellcasters. I will turn Kane into an Unga Bunga magician if I need to.
And then as well, because Alsana, I assume because Alsana showed like reverence and respect to Alistair and his books and the like, he proceeded to gift us a spell scroll of Cold Snap It. So Alsana has that now. Group then proceeded to Walton, and it seemed pretty empty. Alsana had Detect Good and Evil going on in the back as we walked through, and eventually got a little ping around the corner of Alarz's old house. A bunch of undead with retractable compound bows.
Fuck you.
Yeah.
First of all, they were short bows, not compound bows. Second of all,
I mean, they hit like compound bows.
No, there was just a lot of them.
Uh,
It hit like 30 people holding bows and shooting you.
anyways, so we got into a fight with some hordes of undead. And they were horde-like tokens and the like, so that was fun. Asana went down, but then got back up. We proceeded to just kind of take cover in Alaris's house, or mirror Alaris's old house. Took a short rest. Alsana did a commune with nature and got a little bit of a inkling of some sort of influence from another plane, though it was hard to place. Over by the graveyard. As well, there was a handful of straggler undead out and about that could be easily dealt with. Proceed to go check out the graveyard. Calda, Alars, and Alsana did. Kane went around and cleaning up those straggler undead. We found Gage's dug-up grave. So that was nice. And it wasn't again. It wasn't quite this like overt thing of there's some planar thing here, but it had the feeling of something being there. So Asana went and cast Etherealness and rolled a 34 perception. So got another nice little talk with Xanthus, and Xanthus had some nice information. Turns out the party on the
Perception.
what's that?
Freaking 35 perception.
35. Sorry.
Not that it's that much of a difference, but my god.
It makes all the difference when you're trying to talk to a god. Proceeded to get some information from Xanthus. Apparently, the party on the other side, all in some way or another follow someone called the Lady of the Plains, I believe. And apparently, she is a big issue. She is a kind of spit in the face of death, a rather bit of an antithesis to Xanthus, and roughly equal in power. So not exactly one of the creator gods, but significant. Additionally, she's kind of with them in a way, and needs to be dealt with for this. Presumably, needs to be dealt with for this thing to really get a proper solve. There's some conspiracy theories thrown out by me because, of course, if you shoot just everywhere, eventually you'll hit something. And
As is Devin's strategy for both undead and theorizing.
So,
yes,
Yeah, that was the undead strategy against him. So
mhm.
yeah.
The Mirror Party did fail No Sim September. That's right.
I
um,
hate you.
Wait, is Alsana a simp for Xanthus then?
Stop it.
Uh, and yeah, he gave us a bit of that information, and apparently, I think it was further clarified that although Alaris and Alsana are the kind of big hitters in undead making, they do have some offloading of it to other people, and they take literally every corpse they create and bring it back. And they need to be dealt with. Also, the group of undead we ran into was probably their handiwork.
Probably.
There might have been one or two like straggling around here who were, as a result from the somewhat desecration of the grave of a vampire kid being born. But for the most part, it seems like those large, rather organized hordes were the direct or indirect result of our targets. And other than a few other small things, Xanthus took his leave, and we now have context for probably the second phase of the boss fight.
Lovely. That's fun to think about.
So we pick up late into the evening, really into night, the 5th day of Harvest Dawn, in the small ghost town of Walton. You guys just took a short rest. However, you are drawing near the time for a long rest.
Mhm.
Is there anything you would like to do? Anywhere you would like to go? Or anything else to specify?
Pull my prepared spells real quick. Should have done that earlier.
Kane will kind of stroll into the house, having dispatched some of the undead, and just like, okay, cleared out what I could. What's the plan?
Well, I mean, we could stay here for the night.
I suppose.
Alternatively, I have some magic left in me.
Good as new, so
We could, if we wanted to, take a trip back to Threshold. And me knowing here, she'll kind of like put a hand on a nearby tree that I assume is easy enough to remember.
There's a whole forest nearby.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a tree.
Yep. And just kind of knocks on wood. If something were to happen, I could get us there quickly and bring us back. Now that we've actually been here, I would be down a more powerful mote of magic for the day if we returned here in the morning.
would it make more sense then try to progress forward, and if we need to return back here for safety, we can?
I suppose so. We're on a forested path. Any progress we make is actual progress.
Oh, that's actually a good point. What time is it?
Time?
Yeah. Not too late,
Roughly,
right?
roughly give or take. It has gotten dark because I specified that it was getting dark when you finished your
Hunting.
potential vampire byproduct hunting of undead. Being autumn,
vampire-
it's probably about 9:30 or so at night.
Okay, it's later than I thought then. Okay.
Yeah. Sun
that
might
case-
have gone down somewhere around it may be a little closer to 9. Sun
Okay.
probably went down somewhere around 8, but it would have taken you some time to get back and for you guys to convene.
Okay. In that case, we'll kind of. All right. Magic users. Do we have anything to worry about undead being more of a problem at night, or is that more of a kid's story?
I don't. Mm, there are some that have advantages in shadow use and darkness and the like. There's some that are made of the stuff themselves, but that would be more of a situational thing. As far as I know, the ones you dealt with are the only ones within the area, at least within what's my range? 3 miles. At least within 3 miles of us.
All right. Do you think it's worth it to have a decent sized campfire then, or no? Should we try to keep it as covert as possible?
I'd say we just keep it subtle if we can. I wouldn't be surprised if they had any sort of scouts or anything going around the area, especially these more abandoned spots.
Yeah, that's my concern. Actually, Ken will kind of look out the window. Is the watchtower there?
It is there.
Should we sleep in the inn? Use the watchtower to its purpose?
I suppose so. If we, again, do intend to stay here.
Oh, I didn't realize it was so late, so kind of got used to it in the sunset.
The weather is. Let's see.
So I can find out.
Okay, stick his hand out the window.
You're in it right now.
Well, I mean how it's going to be.
You can find out not so much the temperature as the precipitation or lack thereof, but for the sake of Ty's question, is it a warmer or cooler night right now? It's kind of on the verge in between. It's not as warm a night as you've gotten used to with the summers, and especially with your recent time in the Moormarsh. So, in terms of acclimation, it might feel a little bit cooler.
Oh, but that's like
But
the
it's
temperature,
not-
though.
It's not necessarily a cool night, per se.
Ideal temperature. Hell yes.
Yeah, probably about there. You might like to have, in terms of like a bedroll, you might like to have the light blanket on top of you, but you wouldn't mind sticking your toes out.
Sentai.
Thank
you. Oh. Well,
Let's set off a chain reaction.
Lars, are you comfortable sleeping in this town or no?
It's not that I'm not. It's not that I'm not uncomfortable, but I can handle it.
Alright. So,
Maybe avoid certain buildings and areas at least.
Yeah.
So, inn and watchtower then. Got it. I'll take first watch. I'm holding up pretty well so far. Do you need anything in the area, Asana? Will you guys begin to get some rest?
What do you mean?
If I get tired of whatever angles I have and go to look through the town, should I be looking for anything?
I don't know. I don't know what this
I mean,
place
like-
could actually hold.
Plants and stuff. Should I just grab whatever looks interesting?
I'll save you the trouble on that. Probably not.
Alright. Well,
If there's anything
Oh.
actually interesting, I'd be more concerned about you picking it in the first place.
I'll just keep track then.
Seriously,
Also,
seriously,
tomorrow-
Diddney will take your fingertips off.
I've got 9 more. I've got. By the way, you're wearing the breastplate tomorrow. I've nearly got it reshaped. Shouldn't take much longer.
Right. We should probably have a Lars during the night. Those eyes are valuable.
Yeah, well, let him take the depth of the night. I'll take the lighter part right now. After all, you guys need the rest more than I do at this point.
Also, if we are going to have any light, might I suggest a cultist lamp?
Ooh, that would be nice. Cole, do you mind if I take that for now? In case I go to walk around. Sweet. Okay, buckle it onto his belt. And I haven't used my bag for today, so I'm gonna try to pull out a flask of lamp oil.
A flask of what? Lamp oil?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and roll for it. You get
Sweet.
a flask of nice quality lamp oil. In fact, it is a double-sized flask, so it is equal to 2 flasks of uses.
Sweet. Alright, he'll load up one full flask's worth, not the double. And hand Calder the other, because he's not going to use it.
Alright. So Calder, if you want, you can mark on your sheet basically 1 flask equivalent of lamp oil use. What about 12 flasks?
Oh, oops. Didn't realize you had that much. In that case, Kane will keep it just in case he lights him on fire.
Okay. That'll be a creative series of rolls.
Would you like the 13th flask? I'll give it to you. Look, anything is a weapon if you're angry enough, and I have a sword that's already on fire.
Is Calder gonna like potassium this shit again?
I hope so. I hope so.
This with lamp oil.
Please.
I'm gonna be so blindsided because by the time that happens, I'll have forgotten all about this.
Blindsided.
Alright.
The cessation of stupidity, truly.
So,
Oh,
Lori is doing some rounds as a familiar. Doesn't technically need to sleep. I believe Kane is doing first watch. Is Alaris doing second or third? I missed that.
Second, I want to say.
Okay. Third would be Calder or Alsana or both.
Does anyone need any extra healing up?
No, I'm on full everything.
No, I'm good. For the most part.
Alright. Calder is called third watch.
Oh yeah, with familiar. Good point.
So, Alsana, if you want to join anybody on watch, you're free to. Otherwise, you could just technically, you guys are staying still for 8 hours, so everybody can sleep 6. So, you can get 2 hours of extra sleep, or you can sit up with somebody, or across like the end of one watch and beginning of another, or whatever you'd like.
Cause I didn't do my scrying today, did I?
I don't believe you did. Which sheet should I open?
Yep. I'm going to.
We'll say this is happening as everybody is starting to settle down into rest.
Should I roll a quick perception?
Go ahead and roll perception as you begin your watch.
Alsana's gonna give a check-in on Alaris.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
Alright, let's see.
I'm gonna find you a
sheet is
goddamn
taking
plant, Alsana.
1 moment to open.
It was the 26
Wow.
from Kane.
That is a good number. Let me go ahead and get that wisdom saving throw.
I'm assuming we're doing the same ruling as the Miracalda while we were on this side, in the way of Alsana like just puts a hand on Alaris's face.
I believe so.
Just thinks to herself, buzz cut, ugh.
Buzzcut and a beard. Alright,
Oh.
let's see. What did I say the modifier was again for that? It was not secondhand.
It was
Crying.
it was the
I need to.
It
plus 5, wasn't it? Because it was that you are just familiar because it's us.
Yeah, no, it's the likeness or picture.
Yep. So -2 to his save. But not
apologies.
quite familiar because that's a direct person-to-person connection.
Is it possible to scry on someone often enough to become familiar with them?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
In all likelihood, no.
Interesting distinction.
It says met.
Yeah, you have met the target as firsthand. Familiar as you know them well. I want to say if you haven't like shared conversations or direct interactions to a certain degree, then it would not count.
Yeah, that's a good point too. If Alsana doesn't get it for herself, then
All right. What is your current spell save DC again? 19?
19.
19.
Is it not 21? Because of the wand?
I think 19 is with the wand.
Yeah, it's 18, 19 with wand. What do you think the wand does?
I'm thinking of Fergus. Sorry.
Wait, what? Why?
Interesting things.
Because
Alright.
Fergus has the crazy high DC.
All right.
Oh yeah, for the poisons.
So,
Yeah.
Alsana, you borrow Alaris's face for a second.
Mhm.
And you focus on the mirror.
That is the only time that sentence isn't terrifying for Alsana.
You borrow his face. Wait, what?
Just a little bit. You
Just
still
like
have it, don't worry. And you focus on the mirror. You cast the spell. You see it shimmer across the mirror's surface. But nothing. Only your own face stares back at you, looking perhaps a little disappointed.
Alright, Calda.
Alright, let me go ahead and grab a Calda. Making me open all the sheets here.
Yep.
Alright, so let's see. I always forget, do I have her bonus? I do not have her bonus on the saving throws because it's difficult. So I'm just gonna have to add it manually. Okay, still a 19 as a DC because you've got your Calder right there. Huh. Alright. This time you focus. The magic shimmers across the surface of the mirror, and the reflection changes. And you look in upon a room, Calda, sitting in a chair, beside a bed, and sitting on the bed is Osborne. Or this world's version of Osborne, at least. They seem to be in the middle of a conversation. Calda is not wearing armor, just simple shirt, trousers, bare feet. This is the most at-home version of this other Calda that you've seen yet. From the way that their heads are lowered, the conversation seems fairly quiet. You can see the dark square of a window peeking out into night behind Osborne. They're illuminated by the stub of a candle set on a nightstand. And Calda seems to be reassuring Osborne of something the moment that you open the scry. There's a smile on her face, a fondness. You just catch the end of a statement. She says, "Be fine. You'll see. It's always scary going into something for the first time, but you'll have others keeping an eye on you, helping you out. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I know it's a big thing. I know it's important, but I've seen your training. You've got a lot of skill, a lot of talent. You'll do all right." And Osborne kind of does the half nod of somebody who's not thoroughly convinced but would like to be. And he just says, "Yeah, it's a big thing. I don't want to let anybody down." Calda puts her hand on his shoulder. "You won't. And besides, even if it all did go horribly pear-shaped, it'll be alright. There'll be a second chance. There's always going to be another way around a problem. You just have to be creative and look for it. Besides, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just a bit of a walk. it probably won't even be much of a fight. Well, unless one of the beasts shows up. But that I'm sure you can handle. And he looks over. Is it true what they say about them? That they're big as a house, fierce as a dragon? Calda kind of does a similar side-to-side head nod. Some of the rumors might be true, but I wouldn't say all of them. And I wouldn't put too much stock into the fierce as a dragon part. At the very least, you're not going to come across an elk, however large, that breathes fire on you. There's a little bit of a nervous, half-felt chuckle from Osborne. And he goes somber again. This is really gonna help find Rose? Yes, absolutely. It's maybe not a direct one-to-one, but it's a step. It's a necessary step. Sometimes you can't get where you're wanting to go in one big leap. Sometimes you have to hop from one ledge to another, you know? As long as you make it eventually, all the work is worth it. Like when you first started training and you had to do all those boring drills, strike after strike after strike. But as a result, now you can make those strikes without second thought. Yeah. Well, I better get some sleep, huh? Big day tomorrow. Calda smiles, stands up, gives him a quick hug. You'll do fine. Now, rest up. I'll be up in the morning with you, and I'll get you a good breakfast. She picks up the candle. Osborne climbs under the covers, settles down into bed. Calda leaves the room with the light, turning back at the door. Love you. Love you too, Mom. And she leaves and shuts the door behind her. And Alsana, you see, once again, the familiar stonework and construction of a corridor of what you have come to realize is sanctuary. Calda only goes a short distance to another door, enters it, and you see this world's oh no, I dropped a name. What was his name? What's
Husband?
her? Corin. Ah, thank you. You see Corin in there. He almost seems to have been waiting for her. He's sitting up in bed, blankets around his lap, and seems to be reading through some papers. He looks over at her, gives a half smile, shuffles them around, and sets the papers aside on the table. And says, is he nervous? Calda comes across the room and sets the candle down beside another one that's been burning and providing Corin light to read by. About as much as could be expected. His first big mission tomorrow. It's a bit of a different world. But it'll be alright. Astra's gonna keep an eye on him. I've already talked to her. She thinks he's ready. But all we can do is let him test his wings. Besides, as far as these things go, it shouldn't be too hard. Alsana has already sent word that there's not going to be any sort of problem crossing Pridwin. So that's been taken care of. Or at least it will be. So, we're getting closer. One step at a time, huh? Corin pushes the blankets aside, and one step at a time. You see the other Calda climb into bed. They snuggle down. She reaches over to snuff the light. And then, after a while, there's just the sound through your scry of soft breathing and darkness. The scry spell could run on for a little bit of time if you allow it, but nothing else would happen in the remaining few minutes.
Okay. At that point, Alsana puts it down, and I'm gonna ask the GM to correct me on this if I'm going completely off base, and Alsana would know better.
Mhm.
But I assume Calda is there because Alsana was doing the face thing.
Mhm.
And just looks over. Osborne's going to deep thicket.
It is the place that you know of that has rumors and stories of enormous and powerful beasts.
Especially if they're crossing Bridwin. And Alsana is somewhere in the south. She has to be. She apparently made sure she sent word that there wouldn't be any issues crossing Bridwin. It's not just that, they're hunting something. They're hunting elk. Giant elk. Ones of legends.
I will say there might have been a misunderstanding there because Osborne was worried about the elk. The other Calder brought them up as an example and
Okay.
mostly to go, you know, your only problem might be if the beast shows up. But
Okay, okay.
breathe fire.
Alright.
So,
Yep, that's clear.
Just
Thank
so
you.
you don't spin wheels too much.
Yep. Just they're moving through the deep thicket. We need to go there. At this Cooking a sanctuary, less troops. I could potentially. I don't. Hold on. Alsana is going to. Sure, anyone else? No, but it's our best chance of maybe luring them. It's our best chance of accosting any of their forces. A large portion of them. If we have Osborne, it's a good way to get called out.
Scalda has a similar dark thought.
Alsana's gonna do another scry.
Alright, who is it this time?
She wants to scry on her mom on this side.
Okay. That could be interesting because you do not actually know her. You've heard of her. You don't have a picture. You don't have a garment. Okay, there's going to be a +5 save modifier on this one. Let me go ahead and see if I've got anything written down for numbers or if I neglected that. Okay, alright. DC 19, but a +5 on the save. Okay. Alright. So, you settle down, you look at the mirror, you cast the spell. You see your own face, but then there is a slight shift and a shimmer. And you see a different likeness in that mirror. Very slightly different. One moment while I open up some art and drop it in the Discord because I've had this saved for a while,
Ooh.
but I don't have it in a format that I can share on Roll20 just yet. So
Okay.
let me go ahead and get this.
Give us the goods, DM.
Yep,
Yeah, give us the goods.
give you the goods. There you go.
Hey, that one.
Well, that
Okay.
tracks.
Yeah.
You see a face with far more elven features than your own, but you got her hair. You have something very similar to her eyes. Her features are a little bit more pointed, but you can see in her traces of herself. She's dressed in, I believe, leather armors. Little fur around the collar of the cloak. She carries a couple of weapons: a short bow, quiver of arrows, a sword, a dagger. And she is awake despite the lateness of the hour. You see her in a forest, surrounded by enormous trees.
Perfect.
Trees beyond the stature of anything that you've seen before beyond the deep thicket.
Alsana commits every single one to memory.
There are
All
quite a
20 of
few.
her wisdom and intelligence.
Interestingly enough, a lot of these trees have platforms built high between them. Nishandra seems to be walking along some of these platforms, gazing out into the darkness. No torch to aid her eyesight. She holds her bow loosely in one hand, but still present, ready. She walks and acts more like a guard on patrol than like somebody who's just out for a stroll or seeing the sights. There is a deliberation to her movements, and a very familiar attentiveness to the surrounding area. You see her as she passes another elf. There's a brief, short greeting in Elvish, but nothing you would glean very much from aside from the sound of her voice, heard for the first time in your memory. "10 minutes of the scry pass, and she simply patrols the treetops, watching the darkness. However, you now have a selection of trees that are absolutely enormous.
Alsana looks to Calder. We have to go. And looks over to Lars. We have to go.
Oh,
Go get
okay.
Kane.
Kane,
Kane sticks his head down from the watch nest, like, what?
We have to go.
we gotta go.
Okay, we're going.
Deep thicket.
Deep thicket.
Shit, need a boat?
Nope.
No.
Alright, cool. He walks downstairs and let's go. I'll light the lamp of that and hand it back to Calder.
All right, you guys head out to the nearest tree that's large enough to support this magic. Alsana, where are you aiming?
She's
Anywhere
going.
or any given tree?
The last one she saw.
Okay, the one closest to Nahashandra as you ended the scry.
Yep. And she's gonna walk in first. That'll be
All
my
right.
7th level spell. I am out of 5, 6, and 7, guys. Just for the record.
Oh man.
And transport via plants.
Okay. All right then. So, you transport via plants into the deep thicket wood. You look over to one side, and you see Nishandra's back for just an instant before she turns, pulls an arrow, and aims it at you.
Chandra,
Who are you? How do you know my name?
I'm here with a warning. We mean no harm.
The arrow is tracking very briefly between all of your companions as all of you would have rushed out behind Alsana in this instant to get through the transport via plants before it could close.
Mhm.
Then the arrow settles on you, Alsana, as you are the one speaking right now.
Ken will take position to Alsana's left.
What is the meaning of this?
We come with a warning. The Blair's stupid. What's the group called?
Nightingale Alliance.
Nightingale Alliance intends to march through here into the deep thicket.
You hear a deeper voice from behind you guys, as almost without making a sound, another elven man steps onto the platform, kind of down from a hidden nook in the tree. He also
Laris
is aiming
will
the bow.
draw his weapon.
He. 1 second, because you heard a voice first. And he says, "And who are you? Who knows what the Nightingale Alliance has planned?"
Real quick, could Alsana have done a quick insight check on Chandra's face when she said what she said?
All right. What are you looking for on her face?
She's basically looking to see if there's any sort of agency, if there's any sort of surprise in it, and what kind. Basically, the closest she can get, one way or the other, of if the worst is the worst, and she's actually okay with them marching here, or if she is actually kind of she hears the warning in the way of it being an actual warning and something that like concerns her.
All right, go ahead and roll that insight check. All right, I'm gonna say that you probably didn't guidance because casting a spell in this situation might be a little tense.
Mhm.
So, yep. All right. 14. There is a hardness and suspicion on Nashandra's face. She's not giving very much away at the moment. Her eyes move, but it's mostly to track motions. Who is speaking? Who is stepping somewhere? Who is reaching for a weapon? And Alaris, as you reach for your crossbow, you see, actually, which one are you facing? Are you facing the man behind you or Nashandra?
He's sort of darting between. Sort of
For the
turning.
record, one is directly on either side, so you could be like facing perpendicular and like head going back and forth, but it is a little bit like an extreme.
Yeah. If Alsana's looking at Lashandra, then he's got his back to Alsana. He's looking at.
Okay.
Kane will place a hand kind of on the quarrel of the crossbow. Just relax. We're invading their home.
And you hear the elvish man say, "I should say you are." So once again, who are you?
We and Blair is freaking out right now with this whole thing. So you'll have to excuse me if Brain don't do good. What's the name of Threshold on this side?
Keepers of the Balance.
We're members of the Keepers of the Balance.
You see Nashandra's, those of you who are watching, you see Nashandra look across to the elvish man. He looks across to her. Just a brief moment of eye contact. Then they turn their attention back to you fully. And the man says, "Quick with a weapon, that one. I want your hands up and away from that."
And he'll put his hands up.
Nashandra says, "Keepers of the Balance. What proof have you of this? Masked strangers appearing through trees in the night, heavily armed."
Nance. We're looking to make moves on the Nightingales ourselves. I had done some intel gathering, magically.
Well, your intelligence is poor in that case. The Keepers don't make moves in the affairs of mortals. You should have picked a different cover.
Shakes her head. Worth a change in that. Not even fully allied with them. But they're the best claim to anything we have right now. If you want to say we're independent, then fine.
She narrows her eyes at you.
We work with them,
Looks over.
not for them.
We'll need more wisdom in this.
It's fine. I simply wish to come here as soon as possible. Have any sort of time to get any sort of trust sorted. So that the warning can be heeded. They have not even begun to mobilize yet.
We'll take you to the Chief Warden. You hear the male elf just quietly, Chandra, across the way. And she goes, I'm certain of this, Varian. We're going to need her input. And if they get aggressive, better it be surrounded by guards than here on the outskirts of everything. She seems to be watching your reactions very carefully.
And facial expressions aren't changing, I don't think, for that,
Oh,
for their
yeah.
sake.
There are no facial expressions. She is keeping her eyes on shoulders, on hands, on any fidgeting or sudden movements.
At that, Alsana's shoulders kind of go down in a bit of relaxation.
Yeah, so will Lars's.
Kans will probably actually hike up.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Don't thank us yet. You're going to have to be very convincing and very honest. Now, the way is down this path. First tree, there's a staircase going down. You're going to head down one at a time. And you're going to gather at the bottom and wait.
Can Alsana insight
Varian.
that?
Varian and I will follow behind.
Could
Go
perhaps-
ahead and insight.
Come on.
She's taking up a guard position. Her instructions, however, are clear and you can see the staircase from where you stand. It seems that she's more intent on following you guys from behind rather than exposing her back to you.
Are you sure we won't get shot being the first ones walking in?
We can send word. Now, go. It is a longer walk than just that one staircase.
Nods and starts walking.
Behind you for just a moment, you hear Varian whisper something. A flutter of wings. And a small owl flies down, lights on his fist. He whispers into its ear. Then it whispers off into the wind, disappearing into the darkness. You guys head down the stairs. At the bottom, Nishandra gives you further directions. This is a long, winding walk through this forest.
During the walk, Alsana will kind of try to talk with Nishandra in a way. Yes.
Mm.
We should also note that we have certain goals in mind. That is dealing with the ones at the top of the Nightingales. To that end, we're not the most informed as we could be. This is all very recent developments on our end. But we have your best interests in mind.
Indeed we do.
And again, it is not me you need to convince.
No, but if there's any... I would like to know if there's any formalities or cactuses, any toes I might risk stepping on in my haste coming here.
Well, you already stepped on the borderlines. But we do not stand on great ceremony. You do not need to bow and scrape and flatter in order to get your say.
Good.
Speak calmly and directly. Do not raise your voice. Show respect, as it is very due and very earned, though you may not have seen why.
Then I'll take your word for it.
Very well. Just to the left up ahead. You follow and rather not follow, you follow her directions. You curve around a few more trees, and you start to see more wooden platforms up above. These are larger, more fleshed out, more supports beneath them, and you see lights hanging from them. Shelters built atop them. There is a small city in the trees here, deep, deep in the heart of the forest. There are open, park-like glades beneath the boughs. You hear the sound of voices, quiet in the night, but present, as it seems a large chunk of the populace is still awake. It not being too terribly late for those of elvish blood at the very least. And as you are directed onwards,
One last thing as they're on the right.
yes,
You asked earlier, how I knew your name. In the interest of transparency, and again a thank you for taking the time with us here. I heard of a woman living in Deep Thicket, and I need to get to Deep Thicket. I found that name by a man named Roy.
she gives you another sharp look. Roy. Not a name I've heard in some time, and not one I wanted to hear. So what stories has he been spreading of me?
It was light conversation, stories here and there, but... And Alsana is doing the thing where she's both very much lying and very much telling the truth here.
Mm-hmm.
And just... What I heard was... You are one who is... stalwart. Very serious. But dedicated. One with personal responsibilities to uphold.
An unexpected list of qualities I would not think he would have mentioned. Regardless, if you meet this Roy again, you let him know I don't appreciate him speaking of me.
Oh, I hate the man.
Good. Then it will be no burden for you to bear that message.
If I have the misfortune of running into again, I will be sure to.
Tell him as far as he's concerned, I am dead to him.
Nods. But for the purposes of this, his loose tongue might have been a tactical advantage. Fate's funny like that, I suppose.
She gestures for you to keep walking.
Yep.
On ahead. And in front of you, you see a dome-shaped building. Almost seems to be woven of living roots, vines, and branches. Sitting on a small platform that's just barely above the ground. So that the building itself is lifted from the grass and earth, but unlike many of the others, it's not built atop a tree, though it is nestled comfortably into a circle of about 4 or 5 of them that grew very close together. And so it's almost woven into the sides of these trees, even though it's not within the canopy. You see a curtained entrance, some small holes for windows here and there, lights shining within them, and a small wisp of pale smoke rising from a central chimney hole in the building itself. The Lodge of the Peace Wardens, and where our chief resides.
Does this have any resemblance to anything else Anna knows about our deep thicket?
You have never been this deep within your deep thicket,
Even in reading?
even in reading. There are stories, there are tales that there are communities that have made a home there despite the dangers and the beasts. Occasionally, if you're very lucky, some stories might go that a hunter who is lost might have been guided out by denizens, but there was never any firm descriptions of anything, and there were never any stories of anybody having been invited into a settlement or a town or even a city if they existed. So, go up to the door. Nishandra has you halt outside the entrance. At this point, she steps around you, parts the curtain slightly, peeks inside, and calls out. And says, "It is Ithrana. Both of us. We found some very interesting travelers. They wish to speak with you. They claim to bring a warning."
Out of curiosity, this is all in common.
Good point, actually. She would have switched to Elvish for this. You hear, after a moment, a quavering voice reply, also in Elvish. "Well then, see them in. I will speak." She brings her head back out, pulls the curtains to the side, and nods for you all to file in.
Alsana leans over to Kane and goes, "Plunk that helmet on Calder."
Yeah, he will do so immediately. Just take the helmet of disguise off his belt and on Calder's head.
Not disguise.
Oh, which one?
Combrand language.
Ah, okay. We have a lot of helmets.
Yeah.
Well, Kane likes his collections. At some point, post-game, he'll have a little trophy room and little mannequins.
Well, I'm gonna have to build like a Skyrim house just for like trophies and shit.
Yikes.
So yes, Calder, the helmet is plunked on your head, and you can understand all the languages. So,
Just as a side note, Calder can't be understood, right?
I'd have to quickly look at the helm, but I think it's
I
just
will check in the meantime.
languages. I think you can just understand it's not tongues.
Go ahead, I'll check in the meantime.
Yep. Just sometimes magic items are slightly different than the spell they're named after.
Yeah, that is why I have any doubt, but I think in this case it's just understanding.
Yep.
So, as you file inside, you find yourself in a room that is it feels very wide and open. There's a lot of light filling it, driving away the shadows. There is a small hearth built up at the center with a fire crackling in it. A few mugs sit on the rim of this stone hearth, presumably their contents warming. And sitting almost directly across the hall from the entrance, on a pile of various cushions and straw-filled or feather-filled bedding, you see an absolutely ancient elf. Her hair is pure silver. It doesn't seem to be the silver that some elves are born with, but the gray silver of age. Her face, though it doesn't bear many lines, does have creases and wrinkles, marks of a long life even for her kind. She seems almost smaller in stature than Nashandra, or the other elf that came along with you and guarded you, both of whom also enter beside you and take up posts on either side. The old elf across the way is more folded into robes. She's not wearing any armor. You don't see any weapons on or around her. However, you do see a number of other elves around the room. Some of them were sitting down at low tables, having cups of tea or plates of food. Some were conversing. But as you enter, all of them quietly put their activities away, start to casually stand up, shuffle around to slightly more advantageous or more watchful positions. All of those are armored in leather and fur and hides, and they all seem to carry bows, swords, daggers. A few have quarterstaffs or spears. They all pay close attention. As you file in, arrange yourselves on the other side of this stone fire hearth, and you see the chief warden, the possessor of the elder voice, lift a hand and beckon you to stop there. And she says, "First, I speak Elvish most comfortably, and Sylvan after that, but I can make do with Common if some of you are not gifted in these languages."
Alsana will reply in Elvish and just, if that's the most understood, I wish for things to be as clear as possible.
She nods. "And your companions?"
Only the
Should
one,
they-
only the tall one knows not the language.
"In that case." And she glances over to a few of the wardens around the room. Points at one, beckons him closer, and says, "Galeron will translate, if need be."
It is appreciated.
So, Kane, you see, after this exchange you don't understand, you see one of the wardens around the side. He doesn't have his weapons out.
If
But
he
they all-
starts walking up, Alsana will just look over and here's your translator.
He steps slightly to your side between you and the chief warden, glancing between, hands folded in front of him, and gives you a nod, Kane.
I'll just turn to him. Will this be magical or verbal translation?
Verbal translation.
In that
I will
case,
try to keep up, but if you have anything to say directly and don't wish to be misunderstood, while the chief warden is versed in Common, I can rephrase it into
That's right.
Elvish.
2 requests. 1, anything I ask to be translated, make it more polite. I'm not great at it. And secondly, I just need direct translations. You can save as much time as you need. Just the most direct language.
I will do my best.
Thank you.
Attempts will be made, but for the sake of this, Kane, you're able to keep up with the conversation even as it continues in Elvish. So, Alsana.
Sorry, keep my speech nice.
Keep it nice, also direct translation. I assume that Alsana is kind of at the front and center. Alaris and Calda to either side, and Kane just to the next edge. So, the Chief Warden, with these preparations made, folds her hands in front of her and says, "You come bearing a warden, word of these nightingales, I was told.
That's
And what is this warning, then, that you bring?"
They aim to march soldiers onto Deep Thicket.
And
Coming
how
through
came you,
Pridwind.
how came you by this knowledge?
Magical scrying.
Is Pridwin fallen, then, that they would march so freely and brazenly through?
They have apparently been given an okay from an agent there, one of the leaders.
I dislike these events. Should they be true. But what would they gain marching upon us? We have no part in the squabbles of kings, the movement of outside politics. We are preservers of the wood, of history and time. What interest would they have in any of this? What do you know?
Firstly, they likely seek a path, and perhaps a subtle path, through these forests to Ambarion, the Emerald Fields, Threshold.
For the sheer joy of conquering.
Additionally, it's I've not gleaned the most information on it, but they have interests in things of the Feywild. They have made
Feywild.
moves into the Feywild before.
We hide no portals to that place.
They seem to believe that this place would be, at least marching here would be a step towards that goal. Something they're looking for. Be that power to get there in the first place, or a path there already. I know not.
Well, they will find the deep thicket a far tougher morsel than they expect, and one that's very hard to swallow.
That's
Perhaps it may make them choke. Have you traveled a long way to bring this word?
yes and no. I have my own magics to me.
There's a crease of a smile on the Chief Warden's face. Yes, there was something about a portal through a tree.
I'm a druid of
Familiar.
nature. And of life
Ah.
and death.
Are you now? The eyebrows raise. Now tell me, young one. What is your progress in training? What is your level of skill?
Let me see.
I suppose you have not yet unlocked the secrets of longevity.
Shakes her head. Not yet, though. It's it's in my view.
Chemically.
It's in my view. I've been looking into, and I believe it's within my grasp, to shift between the planes and regrow lost limbs.
He kind of turns his head at that one. That's just him. Good, he start using that disarming axe.
So you have some skill. And you scryed upon them successfully.
I have been for a while now.
You are not of the Keepers, but allied of them?
Not as well. As the name states, they aim to keep balance. And these nightingales are a grave weight on the other side.
And you would be the counterweight, then.
I suppose so. Have you experience with the Keepers?
Her eyes find yours directly behind the mask and almost seem to bore into them. For a long moment, she just holds that gaze. Then finally, she nods and settles back into her cushions. I see. Up to their old tricks again, are they? And of course they would send you. Each of you. She glances between the lot.
Kane
Yes.
is checking around the room, just in case anyone's moving.
I was a young girl the last time this happened. It did not affect the Deep Thicket directly, but there was a visitor. Very interesting one. A young lady of the wind and the skies.
No.
Powerful magic.
Wouldn't be, I'm trying to find. Lynn, would it?
Hmm. She went by Stormgust. It may have been that, though.
Stormgust, yes.
She too wore a mask.
Then that may, smooth proceedings over, as it were.
It may.
You at least know our intentions and our situation.
I know that you are an echo of history of the past. Perhaps an echo of the present, in a curious way. There's a little quirk of the side of her lips. The other wardens in the room, the few that you can see actually give a reaction, almost seem curious. Not everybody else is in the loop.
Mhm.
However, the chief warden certainly is. Do you know when this attack is coming? Do you know the size of their force? The numbers? Do you know how slow or quick they will be?
As of right now, no. I can
Would you be...
further look.
I was about to ask. But
I know a number
I will-
of names and faces I can give a glance towards, even if I'm not successful in one.
it will take a force of any size time to cross the plains of Pridwin and the Green Lake and more. Not to mention Heartbreak River or the Merrimore. We have some time to prepare. Unless considerable magic comes into play. But even that is... well, it would be most unusual and unexpected. For now, I will not task you or ask of you further. None of you, I take it, would be of the sorts who can meditate for but a time to rest. As such, you will need sleep. It is late for your kind.
It seemed priority at the moment, but it is very appreciated.
Rooms will be prepared. There's a shuffling from a corner as a couple of wardens nod and head out, presumably to prepare those rooms. She continues. Perhaps in the morning, we will speak again.
Thank you, truly. And she just gives a bow.
You know there is no need for that here.
Yes, but it feels...
Children
feels
Children
just
of nature never want such things.
right. I suppose
No,
I'm...
Hasana.
She kind of like puts like a hair behind here and behind her ear. Well, I guess I'm one to give it at least.
Well, be off with you. Get that rest. And if you should stumble upon any further secrets, today or tomorrow, find a warden. They will be brought to my attention.
Would there be a option to speak with you more directly and less publicly?
Perhaps. I rarely venture far from this hut and these rooms, but the wardens can give us some privacy if need be.
Again, thank you. Also, I like gives a glance to the rest of the party.
Again, we'll just nod and turn to leave.
Okay.
He'll thank the translator too. Just
Yeah.
Galaron accepts your thanks. And Nashandra and Barian step back, take you to the entrance, and say, Barian says, I could guide you to the rooms. I know where guests stay, and I know where the others would have gone.
Would be appreciated. Can I...
We would request that you not wander the city too freely. You're not prisoners. The chief has given you her approval, but sometimes the platforms can be dangerous, and other times the construction can be confusing to somebody who was not born and raised here.
Would this help things? And Alsana sits on the broom.
Well, at the very least, you won't die from a long fall.
well,
Regardless.
until she falls off.
We'll trust perhaps asking a guidance of one of you, if you would have us.
That would be for the best, unless you want to miss breakfast because you don't know where it's being served.
There's the thought.
This way. Nashandra, and he switches to Elvish. I'll see you at home later. Nashandra nods back.
Alsana's eyebrows go up, and thanks, she's wearing a mask. Just now, also, just personal opinion. How do we do in there?
There was a fair bit I didn't understand that the chief warden clearly did. It seems that she's aware of whatever story you're telling as being very probable fact. As such, I would accept your judgment. As for how you did, the bow was a bit thick, but at the very least you seemed direct. Oh, and thanking the translator was very polite.
He did a good amount of work, so
And it is well done to acknowledge that work.
I will say I appreciate not being shot on sight. So thank you as well.
It was a near thing. You probably would have been the second one I shot after the one with the itchy bow fingers.
Yeah, but I have a habit of getting in the way, so I appreciate you saving me the trouble.
Well, at the
Also-
very least, you have the character to stand up for one another.
And I place my hand on top of Laris' head, and you keep your hand off the bow. I'm the angry one here.
No problem.
And he will gently remove the helmet from Calder's head.
At that point, Alsana's like shoulders just like drop. It's like, okay, I need to rest.
And
At
he-
that
Yeah,
point,
sounds good.
at that
I will
point,
too very
Varian-
gently place the helmet on Alsana's head instead, and say in Orcish, I need a second to talk to you though.
at
Alsana
that point,
looked up
um,
and fine.
if you guys want a moment of privacy, you have just been guided to a smaller shelter house on the first level, on a tree not too far from that central building. Whereupon Varian would direct you inside, tell you that there is gear to sleep, beds to sleep in, there's a light snack in case you're hungry. There's some water to wash with if anybody wants it. And then another pitcher of water to drink if anybody gets thirsty in the night. And he bids you farewell and leaves. You are, the four of you, alone in this hut. However, looking out, you can see a warden in just about any random direction at various distances, so it's easy to see where you would get help if you needed it, or questions answered, or
When
anything
they-
of the sort.
When they're settled in the room, just, alright, Kane, what do you want?
Well, how did it feel to see her? Seems we're two. And he's saying it's all in Orcish, by the way.
Okay.
Seems we're 2 for 2 for almost getting killed by our moms.
And tilts her head and goes, I'll take your word on that. I suppose it's practice more than anything.
For being the real thing.
Nods. I just hope.
Personality's gonna carry over. From what you remember.
I mean, if what I saw from the other one is anything to judge by. I'm more of my concern is the fact that she is on this side. She is this side's version. And if she knows, you know,
What her daughter is.
nods.
Well, then,
Or she even knows she exists.
I guess that's the important question, isn't it?
I think I'll run it by the, sorry, is it Chief Warden, Grand Warden?
Chief Warden.
Chief.
Yeah.
By the Chief Warden. For anything.
Alright. Yeah,
That is a lot
Actually-
of wisdom to trust.
I find myself actually liking the chief.
You should.
Oh, that's actually a good point there, Ty.
Well, as far as Nishandra knows, this Alsana might be dead.
Yep.
As far as you know, she knows.
In my head, I was like, oh yeah, I guess it can't really be a Roy, though. And he'll kind of just, alright.
Yeah.
And, do you mind explaining to me what else you saw when you were looking in? Stuff that you might not want to tell the chief. Just keep in mind, I'm speaking Orcish, but everyone else can understand you.
Yes, it was. I didn't exactly have time to give the full explanation.
Just in whatever short terms you can.
And she'll just like look to Calda on this one too. I saw Oz again. When I looked in on Calda.
And is that who's coming here?
Nods. He was asking for advice on dealing with things and his first trip, his first job.
He'll kind of nod to Calda and just. Alright, and do you want me to do the grabbing and taking? Or would you rather do it? He's saying what's in common to Calda. Alright.
Note, we don't know for sure what. I intend to learn more. We don't know for sure what role he's exactly playing.
That's fine. I
Oh,
don't
wait.
care what role he's playing, as long as he's got the same relationship as what we know.
But for all we know, he could be part of a group that's further back that's going to turn tail and retreat once they find more opposition than they expect.
Then we attack from behind and cut our way through.
Fine.
Anyone can do with me and Calda. We can't let this opportunity leave.
If they're going to stop marching soon, I'll be able to get much more of a beat on it.
Good. Get whatever you can. If you can give me numbers, describe the armor, I'll do what I can to organize that into a plan. I'll see if the chief can give me any advice on large-scale tactics.
I might have recently also come across a possibility in my arsenal that is, let's say, very wide scale.
In that case, I suggest you use it.
Roughly about 100 cubic feet.
Kane almost sighs.
Or 100 square feet, sorry.
It's D&D terms function the same. He's just like, and what would happen to everyone within that expanse?
Sorry, yeah, this might be player. Yes, someone named Astra, but that wasn't anyone we know, right? Or is
I
that-
don't believe
question?
I don't believe I've used that NPC name before.
Yep.
If I have, then it might have been a mistake. But yes, Osborne did have a tutor.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Elsana at some point gives the full recap, like she's not holding back on anything.
Okay.
I missed where I was going with it. All right. Yes. Everyone within that 100 square feet, kind of just burns.
That seems like a dangerous use inside the thicket, but
Yes, that'd
quite
be
useful.
one way of fighting hordes of undead. Yes.
Oh, I'm excited to see you use it. Although,
It's,
gotta admit, fire is not the way I'd want to go.
It's and she kind of like flicks on her produce flame and goes, "It's about 6 times as hot as this."
I'm not going to pretend like I can judge the relative scale of third-degree burns.
AKA 70-10.
Yeah, no, I know the spell. Don't worry. Firestorm, right?
Yep.
Trust me. Playing a druid campaign, I know the spell.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
And he's just like, well, I will keep that in mind while planning. You basically have the biggest catapult I've ever seen.
Arson Supreme. No, that's Meteor Swarm.
No,
No.
that's arson, like whatever the like Final Fantasy VII term for those those gods are.
I mean, also Meteor is just a spell in Final Fantasy, so you know.
Yeah, or you can just use
Ooh.
like Mega Flare. or
No,
something.
hold on. Space arson
Space
is way
arson
cooler.
is about right because Meteor Swarm adds a little element with the rocks and bludgeoning and whatever.
Yep.
It's not pure fire.
Space. We
So-
must go to the one place not corrupted by gasoline. Space.
Sephiroth is a planetary arsonist. Anyways.
Oh my god. Stop.
I mean, basically.
Space property damage. Okay. Anyways.
Space anarchist.
Stop. Yep. So yes, I have that as an option. Also there was the mention of a name of Astra. I don't think any of us know that name yet.
Astral arson. Sorry. It's like, does Kane recognize that name at all? I imagine not.
Could be the tutor. Yes.
I'm just saying because Kane has probably the best knowledge of like practical, like powerful weapon users in the country. It's the one kind of history he actually enjoys.
Yeah, that's the one reason why I'm debating allowing a roll. However,
DC 21. It's fine.
I could make it technically.
Go ahead and give it a try.
It's the best kind of making it.
Yep. You see Kane kind of consider for a second. Give me guidance, you fucker.
Shoulder. You look like you're about to break something here, and she just taps him on the shoulder.
Yep. History?
History. Go for it.
Steam coming out the ears.
Damn it. I don't think that would give me the answer.
Smoke coming out the ears.
It's like, what spell? Oh my god.
Sparks
You
coming
did
out the ears.
The bear thing where you're holding one elbow in one hand and the other fist is like thudding against your temple.
doing the Atlas shrugged.
But
Uh,
it doesn't knock anything loose. You can't think of any legendary swords people named Astra. It's nobody you can recall meeting or running across or hearing about. Maybe it's somebody who is unique to this side. Not so much unique to this side as their skill level might be unique to this side. So maybe you
Okay.
haven't heard of them on yours.
Yep, worth a shot. And he'll just, well, I don't know the name. I presume you don't either.
Shakes
Maybe,
head.
maybe if you have a chance to scry on them, do so too. But if you have do you have a scry left, Zed?
I am out of high level magic.
All right,
At best, I could look back on our side.
all right.
If
In that
you
case, get some.
want a
No,
status
don't
update.
bother. Actually, yeah. Can you give me one update?
Nuts.
Okay. Go check how.
I can attempt. It's no guarantee.
That's fine. I'm curious for it, anyways. Can you check to see how Moore is doing? Just
The town?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe just see how they're handling things.
Can I do locations on the other side?
Hmm.
Oh, he was implying check on someone from Moore.
Oh, okay.
But he just says Moore because let you pick. He assumes you know who best to check.
All right.
Like one of the kids because they're easiest.
I was gonna say, I forget the name of the mom, but the mom of Alson.
Okay.
Space also. Sorry.
Stop.
All right. You go ahead and you check in on Harry.
It is her.
It is Harry. And you know, DC 18, she probably wouldn't make any sort of saves on the roll. Oh, fun fact about the spelling for Harry is it's this.
Yep.
Of course it is. Because it smelled like herring, you bastard.
Yes. Literally everyone in that town, except for one.
Oh, I know. I was hoping Harry wasn't.
Two now with Alson.
All right.
Two now.
Yeah, Alson doesn't
Stop.
follow the pattern. Anyway, you check in on Harry and you see her this time of night.
Asleep.
Actually, she would be asleep at the start of the scry, but not too far into it, you hear Alston start to fuss across the room. She gets up, kind of groans, and does the zombie sleepy pad across the room. Find her baby, pick her up, give her a cradle and a rock, and check on her, see if she needs to be fed, see if she needs just general soothing. But it seems like a quiet night. Yes, Alsan is. Yep. I got mixed up because it was Alasana. Yep. Checks and sees if he's doing okay. But everything seems peaceful, normal. See the rest of the family asleep in their partitioned off areas of the hut.
And she'll just close the scry. Delightfully domestic.
It is a spy.
And he will pry the helmet off of Alsana's head, put it on Calda's, and just go, want to take first watch with me?
Yeah, your watch schedule did get a little bit
To you,
jolted.
Calda. Sorry, man, I might have got the names backwards there. Alright, and he will basically shove Alsana to go take a nap, and I'm sure Alaris is halfway asleep already.
Mm-hmm.
Lars is doing the dad thing of like the head leaned back in the chair.
Yeah, exactly.
Mouth is slightly open. There's a little bit of a gargle.
No, not that, but he's just like he has his chin resting on his chest, just like but like arm across.
Every like 10 minutes or so, like the head like bows back up, it's like the
Yeah.
slowly dips down again.
Osuna walks by, taps a finger to the side of his face, freezes the bit of drool going down the side of the mouth, and goes, "Get in an actual bed."
Fine.
Yeah, sleep on chair story.
You can peel yourself up out of the chair, and there are fairly comfortable beds.
Also, I need to watch you sleep one night. You're
Shut the fuck up.
I'm
That's the creepiest thing you said all day.
looks back and rolls her eyes. I'm scared of apnea from you. That is such a father thing to have.
God, I want you to say that again. We are here to do what? And you're scared of what?
Calder's got a point there, Kane.
Oh, he's saying this to both of them. Just like
Yes,
I,
and if
greater things have tried.
yes, and how unfortunate would it be if he just suffocated in the middle of the night while we're doing things?
I'll be damned if you couldn't bring him back. You spent how much to bring back an asshole? Now we're gonna
Yes,
bring
and
back
that's
him?
expensive.
Oh, now it's expensive.
It
Go to
is.
bed.
Yikes. This is player saying it. I know Alaris is asleep.
Yep.
Lawrence can say yikes if he likes, because they are kind of discussing the worth of your life right now and how expensive it is.
Great.
Kane will mutter some swears in Orcish, which called it. You actually understand them this time.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Alaris is gonna do the thing where he's sleeping, wakes up slightly, go, what the fuck, and then go back to sleep.
Kane walks over to Alaris, goes like, "Hey, do me a favor, open your mouth.
Huh?
Open your mouth."
Ah.
And he will look down Alaris's throat and say, "I'll be damned if I let you take him first." And he will pick up Alaris and throw him into a bed.
He's already in bed at this point.
He's already in bed.
In that case, for emphasis, he will pick him up and slam him down on the mattress. Go to bed.
No check needed.
Yeah, I can lift like 3 times his weight, no problem.
Yeah.
As if while Kane's doing that, Alsana leans over to Calder and it's like, "Don't worry, I've actually seen a experimental medical practice involving kind of like an expanding thing that's pushed up the nostril and kind of readjusts the deviated. It's fine."
Oh, you're talking about the lobsterotomy.
The what?
The lobsterotomy. You know, they reach into your head like a lobster and just wiggle stuff around in there. 2 claws, you know?
You learned that from that quack of a swamp doctor, didn't you?
No, I actually just was making a joke. Now, get in bed or I'm gonna toss you like the witchy javelin you are.
Walks over. "Yeah, I strike about as well as your javelin too." And she slides into bed and puts like 3 blankets and pillows over her head.
Kane will just kind of step into the main room with Calda and just be like, "I'll keep it short. I know we don't technically need to keep watch here, but I'm going to anyways." And he switches to Orcish and just look. I'm certain if we have to cut our way over to Oz, that you and me are going to be the ones in the front. I won't stop you if you want to take the attack. I'll just follow your lead. But I'll put it this way. I'll be spending most of my focus keeping people off your back to let you do whatever you need to. If you want to switch positions, just tell me. I'm not going to try to play in advance. It's... Alright. And, do you want a good luck charm of some kind for this bullshittery? He'll just kind of hand her the light and javelin. Just in case there's a few people between you and him and you want to finish it quick. And don't forget your cloak. Like the ones that shoot the weird feathers that kill people. It's good range if you need it. Which I will just click for reminder's sake. Remember, you can throw those with strength. Ah, true.
Eldritchy Fingies is the best thing ever, I'm sorry.
Technically, isn't an Eldritch Fingy tentacle, if we're talking about the right Eldritch?
Yeah.
It depends on the Eldritch. Somehow I don't think that's called a style of Eldritch, but feel free to correct me if I am wrong.
Cthulhu, but with an apron and a best mom mug.
Horrifying.
And he'll also just hand her the throwing knife that always lands on the hilt, and just if you need a blunt object from distance. I'm not sure how survivable your magic is.
Okay. So,
And he will just kind of place the hand down on the head, lift up the helmet, put it back in his bag, and say, "Alright, now you go to bed." After all, you need your beauty sleep after all this. I know, I'm sorry.
yeah, it does. It's okay.
No, go to bed.
Go for the kneecaps.
Roll
You
for
doing a
it.
tackle? Is this athletics? If it's a grapple tackle, it's athletics versus athletics or acrobatics. Oh. Oh no!
Just instinctively, like, he like pulls his knee up and it catches her on the chin by accident. He's like, "Oh shit. Why? Why? Why?" Fuck.
Oh no, he's gonna put you in a half crab. Uh-oh.
Go again.
God damn it.
This time you see it coming, Kane, but it's a hard contest. But eventually, she manages to get an arm around behind your knees and squeeze and push with her other forearm and on the top of
Yeah, she's got you in like one hell of a submission
Abs.
hold at this point.
and you thud down onto the ground.
It's just, Jesus Christ. I need to learn that halfling martial arts you keep talking about.
After a minute or so, there is a light knock on the door frame.
Why?
And you hear an unfamiliar voice. Is everything all right in there?
Yes. I'm having a night terror. Little wretched little bastard of a night terror.
If you wish for some calming tea, I could see if someone could bring some.
No, it's alright. But, I got like 6 more pillows.
I will see if one of the other huts has spares.
Alright.
Wait.
He will, he will stand up, just like pulling Calda's like wrists away from his knees, like, fucking let go!
Roll me a d6.
Okay.
I'll get called to win another athletics.
Yep. Switch the knees.
Can we just assume at this point?
I succeeded the first time.
Yeah.
About 10 to 15 minutes later, the same guard comes back, knocks on the frame again, and I found the pillows. Are you still awake?
The background music be this spooky.
It shouldn't. I switched to the wrong thing, but yeah.
Kane will just get up and walk out again, Calda. He will break the bed also. He's wearing like 58 pounds of armor.
Gross.
There it is. I think this is the one I want. There we go, one down.
And Kane will just kind of walk to the front door, take the pillows, just thank you, and close the door and start whipping pillows at Calda's head. Go the fuck to bed! I have 6 pillows, you have 2 hands, let's go.
No.
For the sake of this, contested dexterity checks.
Ah!
Just one set.
Technically,
For overall.
I have a +2 to ranged everything.
Yeah, on average,
Oh,
Kane
God.
is hitting Calda with more pillows than Calda is catching or blocking. Calda, you do manage to catch one and like use it to bump away another, but the other 4 just boom, 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 boom.
Just go to sleep. I already agreed to take first watch.
Alsana, Alaris, this is very noisy.
Yep.
Mhm.
Keep
How-
it down in there.
How you
Fuck
sleep
off.
through it is up to you as a character,
If
but
you want us to keep quiet, help me out. Okay.
alright.
And
So-
Kane will sit in the main room with the 6-foot spear out, waiting for anyone to walk into this room.
Okay. A couple of hours pass. Nothing happens. Mori apparently takes revenge.
Probably
Fun
doesn't
fact,
know
owls
it's here.
don't poop. Fun fact, owls don't poop, they expel pellets.
They are solid.
So,
matches,
pretty
okay,
much-
I noticed.
Pretty much, Mori instead right over Kane's head, and it just kind of bounces off.
He just looks up at Mori. It's like, I will turn you into dinner.
Ooh, ooh. Mori looks distinctly unimpressed.
He pulls out the helmet. He's like, no, put this on. I want you to understand what I'm saying here.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Mori flutters further up into the root-like rafters of this hut.
Alright.
And kind of glares down at you, just two large yellow eyes in the darkness. One blinks, and then the other.
Can't do the snowball.
Go to bed. This is the player.
Fuck you.
Eventually,
Yeah.
You get to torment NPCs, okay? I get to torment the owl.
you fling the
Sex
snowball
like
upward,
this.
but it slips out of your fingers, spins backwards, and lands on top of your own head.
Size. Yeah, I guess I deserve that one.
Eventually, do you wake somebody up for the next watch?
He'll wait till it's like 3 hours from morning and wake up Alaris.
Okay, I'm pretty sure it's.
Or not,
something
sorry, not
to do
3
with
hours.
getting
3 hours. Sorry, 3 hours from
exhausted.
sunset. I just mixed up which one.
Okay, I was gonna ask if you really meant to push yourself because exhaustion lies that way.
He'll basically get to the edge of what exhaustion would be, and then just
Mhm.
wake up Alaris. Basically,
Yep,
skip
yep.
Calder's watch.
Yeah. Okay, Alaris,
Yep,
take
she's
a watch.
good to go.
Do you watch all the way until dawn, or do you watch for a while and then wake somebody else and just get a
We agreed on 3 watches, so guess we'll wake up Calda.
Well, technically, we agreed on 4. I'm just a bastard.
Calda's asleep.
You watch for your turn, Mori kind of softly hooting occasionally in the rafters, fluttering about. It passes uneventfully. You wake Calda not long before dawn. Calda, you can sit with Mori. And yeah, Mori can go and cuddle the pillow fort on top of Alsana's head. Alsana, you don't even notice. The weight of the pillows is quite a bit. To begin with, you are in a cocoon and a cave all at once, basically.
At some point, like a hand of death reaches out from the pillow and just like pulls everything a bit closer, including the owl, but she doesn't notice.
Alright, Calda, you spend your time on watch, recasting the spell. Mori is a cat now. Any particular color or length of hair that you would go for? Gotta have the description, gotta know what sort of cat we're dealing with here.
Calico.
Fluffy white Himalayan.
Skull
Mori
cat.
is a heap of fur. And just kind of does the very cat thing at the end of the hour. You resummon him into the new form. He does the stretch, the yawn, and then does that light kitty leap up onto Alsana's bed, pads up towards the mountain of pillows, climbs on top, and curls up there, directly over where Alsana's face probably is.
And again, the hand of death comes out at a moment and just like grabs it. Just have the limbs like out, like underneath the hand.
Yep. However, Calda, you're able to see as dawn arrives in the deep thicket. It comes with a cool blue mist at first that slowly becomes suffused with golden light. And about then, Elaris,
Yep.
you wake with a start and a sudden feeling of fury and how dare suffusing you that is gone as soon as it arrives. And you're left blinking awake, not sure what that was or where it came from. But it was intense, it was strong, and it was momentary. Just at the moment of dawn.
The hell was that?
Ken rolls over in his sleep, just like, what?
I just. Do you ever get a rush of emotion and then just as soon as it hits you, it's gone?
Every morning when I wake up.
Okay, I don't think you're the right person to ask for this.
Yeah, probably not. Do you not? Wait, do you wake up in like a satisfied way?
Alsana pulls herself out of the bed with the cat in arms. What's going on?
Apparently, Alaris feels things when he wakes up.
I
Fuck, where'd the cat come from?
probably not something, but I just felt a rush of intense anger, and just as soon as it hit me, it was gone.
1 second. Alsana's going to ritual cast detect magic.
As you begin to ritual cast, you start to use hand motions, and Mori kind of does the cat thing where he slides out of your arms like so much liquid.
Mhm.
Pats over to Kane, hops up into Kane's lap, and then there's a
Kane
And
throws the cat
Hackle.
across the room.
kind of thumps into a bed, scrambles off, and then runs over to Calder to climb on the shoulders. So, you ritual cast detect magic over the next 10 minutes, perhaps while everybody else prepares for the day, converses. And Kane points an arrow at Mori. You finish casting detect magic, fire it off. You get the usual suspects. Yourself, your friends, your gear. There might be remnants of a light magic that seems to be infused into the building itself and the tree that it is grown from. However, that's shreds and remnants. That's the imprint of whatever natural magic had been used to build and weave this place out of nature. You don't get anything active or immediate otherwise.
Not even on Lars specifically.
Not even on Alaris specifically, no.
Just going to switch over to detect good and evil.
Okay. Is that the one with undead celestial
Elemental Fey Fiends.
elemental fey fiends? Portals, hollowed or consecrated or desecrated ground. Alright. You cast that one. And this time you don't get... You don't get anything that pings off of any of those things. But there is the slightest hint, like a faint wisp of smoke after a candle is snuffed, of something extraplanar about Alaris, around Alaris. It's not deeply unusual. It's just a little bit more strongly scented than usual, let's say.
Someone like walks up to Alaris and just kind of like gives a good look at him. Just could do a medical checkup, honestly.
Yeah, passive medicine, or do you want to roll?
I'll roll with the guidance.
Sure, go for it.
35.
35. Yeah, maybe look into that little bit of snoring problem, but it's not anything that's going to be immediately an issue.
Lesser restoration cures arthritis. It can cure this.
There's not any like very small breaks in the skin or anything, is there?
No. I'd say he seems pretty healthy overall.
He's not showing any symptoms of anything.
Not really. He might be a little bit tired because it was a very late night last night, and he did wake for a watch halfway through it. But aside from that, that is just garden variety, not quite enough sleep, or not as much sleep as would be preferred. There is nothing odd about it. There is nothing unexpected about it.
Did he get a bite? Was he like physically like accosted at all by the undead we fought?
I don't believe so. He stayed at range, and he was inside of the Tundrafist, the shell of the Tundrafist house for most of it. The hordes never made it inside there. He might have gotten shot from a distance at a point, but that would have been the extent of it. And besides which, your medical check there, you are very confident that you would be picking up on any traces of toxins or diseases or anything unusual like that.
Okay. Just kind of like lets go of one of his eyelids and just let me know if that happens again.
I will. I will.
I don't want to take anything lightly. A little bit from the finish line here.
Yeah.
All right.
1 second as I just sort out my spells too.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. If anyone else has anything to do.
I'm arguing with Ty in Discord.
Okay.
That's what I'm currently doing. Kane will get up and he'll check around and kind of look out for one of the guardians. Like, hey, is it the same one that brought the pillows?
Does it say what?
He's checking for the guardian that brought the pillows.
No. He seems to have, he seems to be off shift now. But
Stick his head out and
actually,
look for one.
as you stick your head out to start looking around for wardens, the nearest one seems to be a different individual from what you saw last night. B, you see 2 small elvish children sitting outside the door, just a little distance away, watching you.
He looks down at them with the masked face and like fully armored.
They look at you with really big eyes, growing wider with every moment.
He slowly pulls out a piece of beef jerky, points it at them.
They look at it, they look at you. And you hear one of them say something in Elvish.
He says something in Orcish.
Say something else in Elvish, point at the beef jerky, point at you.
He says something else in Orcish and like gestures, like pushes it towards them.
The slightly bigger one, perhaps older than the other, slowly puts out a hand and takes it.
Nods
Kind
to
of
them.
turns it over, sniffs it, and tries to tear it in half, but his tiny little hands aren't making any headway on very tough jerky.
I hand him a knife.
You pull out a knife, and the kid kind of looks at it, a little bit startled.
I flip it in my hand, point the handle towards him, and give it to him.
And there is a recognizable gasp of, oh. The kind of
he
feeling
gestures at the
of a
jerky.
child being given something that he did not expect to get. He puts the jerky down on the wood platform and starts to saw at it with the dagger.
Kane just waits till he's done.
Finally gets it, passes the smaller, younger one half of it, takes the other half for himself, and starts
Just put his
to
hand out for the knife.
chew on it. He looks at you, takes the jerky out of his mouth that he started to chew on, and starts to give it back.
He puts like a stop hand, like no. Points at the knife. And then like give it to me.
He looks down at the knife, looks up at you, and makes a please gesture and face.
Kane makes a shape with his hand like he's breaking someone's neck.
He
Or
looks
like strangling them. Like, hand it over.
He looks at the jerky and, still holding the handle of the knife, tries to hold on to the jerky and break it in half. It stops, realizes what he's doing, puts the jerky down, saws it in half, and then tries to hand you half the jerky.
Ken will sigh, step out fully out there, tower over this kid, and in common, just go knife and open his hand.
Knife.
He-
Knife.
He
Knife.
crouches down.
Knife.
He puts his hand out like he's doing a high five.
Rattle something in Elvish.
He
Sounds
very
a little
gently
bewildered.
he like pinches the blade of the knife with his two fingers and like starts to pull.
There's a little whine, but the kid's hand opens and you get the knife back.
Oh, I know Kane is the helmet, but he's an asshole. This is way more fun.
Also, we're too far gone now.
Yes. And he takes a knife, puts it back in his sheath, pulls out a different knife that's dull, and hands it to the kid.
There is a little bit more excitement. Takes the knife, and then realizes when he tries to saw the jerky that it's dull and looks disappointed again.
Yep. And he just points like down the tree, just like go.
The call from inside. Kane, are you giving children knives again?
No, of course not. Why would I do that?
Come on.
At the sound of another
Also-
voice, the kids
Also, he looks
start
to
trying to
looks
peer
to the
around.
door like, no fucking names. He pulls his head back out.
I was joking.
I know.
I can't.
And King just looks to the guardian, who he hopes saw all of this.
He's kind of been meandering up.
Yep, and he says, "Do you know which guardian? Hold on, can you understand me?
A little bit.
Um,
Um,
he puts a finger up. Like, hold on.
common,
on.
not strong.
He goes inside, brings one of the pillows out, points to it, goes, "Who gave?"
Pillow?
Who gave to me?
Who? Person.
You
Which
also leans out.
I pull out the helmet, hand it to him, gesture like put it on.
He looks at it and looks over at Alsana.
Please, just put it on.
She says in Elvis, it's magical.
Elvis?
Lets you it says in Elvis, yes. No, it says in Elvish. Just it's magical. Lets you understand languages.
Switches to Elvish. Can you not just translate? Tell me what he is trying to ask of me.
He wants to know
I'm-
who gave him the pillow.
Oh.
Which guardian he interacted with last night.
I would not know. I was not aware you were missing pillows.
He just
I-
sighs, reaches into his bag, pulls out like 10 separate silver coins, and just hands it to him. Just
No,
distribute.
Can you tell him we don't use this currency?
So Asal looks over. They don't use coins, Kane.
I pull out a piece of beef jerky and hand it to him. Distribute.
Also says in Elvish, he's slow, but he means well. Have patience.
He just turns Osana like, "Can you just tell them to tell thank you to whoever gave it to me?"
He wants to say thank you to the one who gave him the pillow. That's all.
If I find out who it was, then I will do so.
Thank you.
And also, please make sure the child who I just gave a knife to doesn't sharpen it. And he walks back inside.
You what?
I'm fairly certain that his parents won't allow him.
Good.
Is that right, Vaughn? And the kid looks up in an Elvish. That's right. With a very sweet smile. I won't do anything.
I am Kitty. I am very sweet.
So looks over the kid and is like, "You're lucky he got out first and no one else was here to stop him."
Yeah. He's pretty big.
Yeah, he gets that a lot.
And the littler one says, "He's big, but I like him. He's nice." He's chewing on the jerky and barely making any headway.
Also looks at it and go, I'd say you're biased because of the jerky. And just
That was the goal. Fuck you.
and just gets up. It's like, remember, knives aren't anything. Magic is useful too.
What's best?
Pass.
It means you like him because of the jerky.
Oh, okay.
It's called gift. It's called interacting with children with a +1 charisma.
Goodness.
The older one looks up at you, Alsana, and says, "Why do you have a shiny face?"
Oh my god. What have I done?
She looks down and goes, "We like to keep our faces hidden.
Why?
Hmm, because we have some. We do work, and we don't want to worry our families. We're kind of like superheroes."
Mm, should I wear a mask?
If you want
Yes,
to.
always, absolutely.
Mask.
Especially when you have a knife.
This is an elvish.
Oh, I know. Oh, this is Carmine. This is not Kane.
Yeah, this is Alaris is also saying this.
Yeah, you just. Well, I mean, if you want to. They are nice.
I'm gonna go make a mask. Come on, Lou, let's go make a mask.
Yes, wear a mask.
And Lou gets up, still chewing on the jerky, and should we make one for Tia too? Yeah, let's make one for Tia too. But we're gonna have to put flowers on it because she's a girl and she likes flowers. Okay, I guess.
Also, Alex, why don't you ask her what she wants on it?
I guess. But then she might say something stupid.
Like a hand from the bottom of the ocean, Kane's hand reaches out and pulls Osana inside.
And just like, also, it's good to wear a mask if you're feeling sick. If you have a runny nose, they're good to keep other people safe.
Bye bye, stranger lady.
What?
Oh, nothing. I just got tired of hearing you talk to the kids when I couldn't understand them.
You have the helmet.
Yeah.
She freezes his underwear.
You gotta get through like 6 layers of armor and clothes. Good luck.
Yes.
Roll your attack. Fuck you.
She's not trying to damage, but
19 Constitution. Hold on. Fine.
correct. Also,
I'll take
also looks back at the group. Is everyone ready for the day?
I suppose.
So leans back out the door and is like, "So there was breakfast mentioned."
Yeah.
To the guardian.
The warden kind of was watching the two children scamper off across the platforms and looks back. Right, are you ready for that? I'll be able to guide you to the eating place.
Be very appreciated.
Just follow me.
As we're walking, can also on a passive medicine this guy. How's he doing?
He seems to be doing all right. He might have recently, not so much sprained as like stretched or moved a shoulder wrong, as he seems to be favoring it ever so slightly.
Just walking. Have you injured a shoulder recently?
Pulled it a little bit, training a few days ago. It's been better.
Have you talked to any medical types about it?
It's gone away on its own, largely. It wasn't a bad sprain, so it didn't feel like bothering them.
And she'll just mention like a stretch that's good for something like that if it happens again.
He nods along. Eventually, he takes you to what seems like a very large, mostly communal eating area. There are quite a few people moving around in it. Conversation is predominantly in Elvish. They hear strains and snippets of Sylvan, if you can recognize it.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay. One or two little jots of what sounds like Gnomish, as you realize that though the population is predominantly Elvish, there are a few gnomes in the area, forest gnomes, though they are very few in number as well as small in stature. You see one or two people just in this like immediate group. There are probably more throughout the city, but you see a few people that seem like they are probably human, or at least have a significant portion of human blood in their genetic makeup. There's not otherwise a huge variety, though.
Alsana doesn't catch a druidic being talk, does she?
Hmm.
In most settings, druidic isn't verbal.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would say that you don't catch any druidic being spoken in this group here.
Also, I defy that, Conrad. Druidic in the druid class feature. Secret language of druids, you can speak the language and use it to leave hidden messages.
Just remember, in most settings, it tends not to be verbal.
I am not
It's
caring
already-
about most settings. I'm caring about Ariel's setting. Anyways,
In this setting, it is verbal. However, you're not hearing any right now. Breakfast is, by and large, a lot of what seems to be steamed fruits. There's some grain made into buns. There's actually some fish included as breakfast food, but not so much in the way of bacon or sausages.
just at a glance, freshwater fish, assumedly.
Yes. Oh, yes. Mostly the small fish, and they're cooked whole. So, like, the heads are still on, the tails are still on. You basically have to debone it a little bit as you go.
Kane leans over to Alsana and is just like, so are elves like one of those weird cultures that don't consider fish meat?
Just tells her head. What do you mean?
I've heard of some places don't consider fish type of meat, but just as like a separate food group.
These are small and reasonable. They try not to make large hunts, as far as I know. Though I honestly can't speak to this particular culture.
Oh, I just meant in general. I'm just curious about the culture.
Again, it could be different. I don't know.
But from what you do know, I don't care if it's accurate. It's more than I'll know.
If you're asking about the one on our side, then just to double check with Ariel.
It varies. It varies extremely widely by depending on the culture of the region, the geography, etc., etc. You've got some predominantly elvish cultures or civilizations that do actively hunt meat and consume it. You have others that are a little bit more on the vegetarian or vegan side of things. You have others that are mixed. At the very least, in this one, they seem okay with fish as breakfast food.
Yep. And she just looks back and goes, "Remember, there's a much larger population of ours than there is of yours. There's much less condensed culture. They're spread out. It's like asking what human traditions are. It's a wide variety."
Yes, but you can still get a general statement. And
I
again,
don't know on this.
Oh. That is the first time I've heard you say those words, so I'm okay with the answer.
Just rolls her
We'll
eyes.
go back to eating his food.
All right. So you dig in. You are refreshed. You've had a rest. You've had a meal.
You're damn right he is.
Kane at that point might just like punch her in the shoulder.
She'll do it from afar.
Wait, hold on.
I got 60
I
feet
mean-
on that.
I find it. Throw some water.
All right.
Hold on. I guess if I have to roll this, I have to roll again. 14.
14.
Does it
What-
normally hit your AC? Because I haven't given you the breastplate yet.
Yeah, that would, I guess.
Okay, you hit.
No, you have
hit that as well.
disadvantage.
What?
Because
Oh, I do. God damn it.
the cloak is always.
Ah! Bullseye. Nope.
Fuck you.
You think that you got her, but then it passes through a shimmer.
Do you always? He will get up and he will walk over to her and sit next to her on the bench.
She'll get up and walk away.
He will follow you.
What?
He says nothing. He keeps following.
At that point, she's finished her breakfast and just looks out and looks over to the other two. Well, I think we're mostly eating here.
I was sitting there on the bench.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
So, bickering aside, does anybody have specific things that they want to do with this time?
Yes, at some point when Osana is not looking directly at Kane, he will pull out the 10-foot pole from his bag and poke her in the back of the head.
My goodness.
An opportunity will arise at some point. So, anybody else got any plans?
Elsana
Oh,
will.
also, I hand the breastplate to Osana.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright. Alsana asks everyone in the party. I'm the cat couple of confused Alsana as he follows her around. Alsana is happy with this. Also,
remember this.
Alsana checks in with the party, sees if they have anything they need to do, and then asks if they'd like to go maybe talk with the chief.
Yeah, let's get this done.
Okay.
I don't like sitting around.
All right. You are guided towards the central hall of the wardens. Want Ty to poke the bear with a stick? What have you got in mind? I'll just say that as you were walking, Alsana, give me a quick perception check, but with advantage.
Happily. 29.
You see two small children, faces hidden behind these really rough, like, almost glued together masks of leaves that are haphazardly plastered across their faces. Running along, and the slightly taller one has another bundle of leaves and twigs and some flowers clutched in both hands.
Also just smiles and keeps walking.
All right. So, you head into the central hall. You're able to enter. At this time, there are some curious looks from around the hall as people mark your entry, note who you are, maybe a few watch you, but it seems more curious now than cautious, which it was last night. Nobody is getting up and shadowing you. Nobody is standing or lounging or sitting with their hands very close to weapons.
Maybe there's some pointed glances from the people who weren't there yesterday, but...
Yep. But it seems that a few of those who have those glances, one or two, you see their companions lean over and whisper to them. Word seems to be spreading a little bit. And across the way, you see, kind of shuffling towards her seat, the Chief Warden. She glances over you, nods, but waits until she settles down before addressing you.
So I will happily wait and just give a wave when she makes that contact.
Do you bring more news, or is this a different conversation?
I suppose it's... wondering your availability? As well, I am rested and fully able to give some peers into things. As she just kind of like leans her head back and forth, and I'm wondering opinions on what I should prioritize.
Well then, there is an area we can use to speak quietly. Come, follow me. She gets back up, leans on a cane, and heads over towards a space at the back of the hall. It's almost a private seating area, an alcove with a curtain across the front. She leads you there, sits down inside, gestures for you to sit around the almost stump of a table. Says, what would you like to share or know?
And this is like decently cut off.
It is decently cut off. You can hear people conversing on the other side of the room, but the curtain is thick and heavy, and it seems to muffle it more than it might normally.
All right.
It's not a silencing spell by any means, but at the very least, somebody would have to be actively eavesdropping in order to hear anything, and nobody's going to see anything either.
I mean, first of all, how much exactly are you privy to on our ends?
I know a few things more than some might expect. I know there are holes and gaps and bridges between worlds, and sometimes people can walk them. And I know there's a reason why those rare visitors from the Keepers wear masks.
And I'm guessing you're rightfully judging who we are based on previous measures they've taken?
I know how the echoes work. You four would, from my knowledge, very closely mirror the four who lead the Nightingales. Am I wrong?
Alzana just slides her mask to the side halfway.
And she peers at you and nods.
Puts it back.
You have your mother's look about you, girl.
Nods. So you do know that part too. Is that known to her?
She is saddened, but is disavowed. That child. She prefers her new life, and would rather not think of how her past actions have led to some of what transpires now.
Nods. She looks happy. I'm glad for it.
I do not know her mind, but I believe she is.
Well, with that sorted, I suppose. How much do you think the Deep Thicket can really withstand?
Our peace wardens are well trained, but they are scouts and hunters, not meant for pitched battle. If the enemy, however, comes into the Deep Thicket, it is a tricky place, and we will have an advantage in it.
It seems they intend to. There was a conversation with the possibility of dealing with a large elk and the dangers that holds.
They think the elk are dangerous. Wait until they meet the bears.
Also, no, kind of like tilt her head. It's like, come on.
Do I really need to? Have you ever seen a bear? A normal one from a different forest? The larger, angrier sorts.
Oh, good to know.
Now imagine that, but triple in size. And with an appetite to match. And a temper as well.
Do they scratch their backs against giant trees?
Oh, they've been known to. We know not to bother them. And they know that certain territories are ours and are more trouble than invading is worth. There's an understanding between us. Now an outsider, a foolish bumbling hunter, a even more foolish, even more bumbling army, might not know these unspoken truths and rules and treaties. Stumbling across a mother bear in a cave in this thicket would be a devastating offense.
We can only help with them.
But as to our preparations, we will be more prepared knowing that some danger must be watched for, specifically against us, than we may have otherwise. We tend to keep to ourselves. Had an army appeared in the hills, on the plains outside, we may have assumed that it simply meant to skirt around the Deep Thicket. Such things have happened in history's past. Few have ever been foolish enough to invade.
And I worry what gives them the confidence.
The confidence may be in expecting surprise. We will set traps. We will lay paths that are false. The more time we have, the more convincing we could be with these things.
How well known are your people to the world and to the greater world as a whole?
To my knowledge, barely. There is awareness of us. We are not so deeply hidden as to be unspoken of. But no, we have never been involved into the what outsiders might consider their histories. We've never been involved in their wars, nor in their peaces, their treaties. We tend the forest and all that it shelters.
She looks up. And in terms of that history, I hope it's not too rude to ask, but just how long have you been here?
Well over this era. Though not by too very much.
So you've not of the particular druid arts? At least not that far.
I've only recently gained some of them. I should stand to watch over it for an era or two more, perhaps. But most of my life had passed by the time I learned such arts.
I can give you some quick pointers, she says with a smile beneath the mask.
Impertinent little thing. Don't be cheeky. Now,
You seem amiable enough for it. Okay. To business then. She'll slide out the mirror.
mhm.
Don't suppose you've run into this before?
If it is an artifact, it is not one I recognize. I can guess its purpose, given what the discussion entailed and the form of the thing. So, I assume that you have a direction that you would want to take.
That's... I have the name and vague understanding of a recent recruit into the forces that should be heading here. And she's going to try to scry on Oz.
Okay. Alright. Let's see, you don't have his likeness or anything like that. I'm going to say that's a 0. It's almost secondhand. I'm going to give him a plus... I'm going to give him a +3 on this.
Alright.
Just because of technicalities, though you have seen him in Scries, so it's not going to be the full +5. So a +3 on a wisdom saving throw on Oz's part. Alright. So, you focus in on the mirror and cast your spell. And the image in it shifts. The room that you're sitting in is fairly dim. There is light to be had, but the curtain blocks out most of the natural light from the main hall. And so when the image in the mirror lights up with bright morning sunlight, you have to blink spots out of your vision for just a moment. But in the mirror, you see Oz. He seems to be seated atop a pony. Basically the halfling equivalent of a horse for a long journey. Riding alongside is, on a full-sized horse, a taller figure, clad in full plate armor. with the helmet down. Oz is in chainmail and has a greatsword on his back with a few javelins in something of a sheath alongside of it.
As this is all going, Alsana just has a notebook to her side. She's just scribbling down details, not even looking at it.
They are riding along a winding mountain road. You can still recognize the Vale of the Dragon Spine. You can see the lake in the background of the scry. It seems that they've just left Sanctuary that morning, and haven't gotten too far. And winding out behind them, you see columns of marching figures. Most of them seem to be living. They march with purpose, sharp movements. You see a few on horseback, interspersed throughout the columns. Not near enough to glean any details. Your focus is on Oz. This is almost silhouettes behind them. And then further back, you see some columns that have looser movements, more shambling. It looks like it's a mixed force. It's hard to judge the numbers from the scry, but this is not a single small raiding party. This is not a hand-picked 4 or 5 individuals for a single simple job. This is squadrons on the move. And it doesn't look like, from what you're seeing, it doesn't look like Sanctuary is being emptied. But it is a fairly sizable looking force. However, they are marching along with purpose, and Oz seems nervous, but a little excited, and does not seem to be in the mood for any conversation, and neither does the one riding at his side. However, the scry will continue as long as you would like it, until its limit.
She's just trying her best to get any small details on any of the forces, any of the like the location they're in, if she can catch a like a large enough tree in the background.
Not in that area. And also the scry is again focused on Oz. You can only catch glimpses of things in the background as he kind of moves along this winding road, and occasionally there is an angle that allows you a glimpse of those following. I'm going to say that in this case it is not going to be possible to judge with any sort of finality or certainty.
Okay. But she'll just nod, and if there's not anything else that much changes.
Nope.
She kind of blinks back from it. They've left Sanctuary this sunrise. It's a large force, mixed force, living and dead.
There's a grimace that crosses the Chief Warden's face.
The living are on horseback. Armored. Heavily.
But they will still be slowed by the pace of those who go with them.
They do not seem accelerated, no. I could also have gotten like a sense of their basically land speed.
A, they're starting out fresh in the morning, so it's hard to judge how that might change. B, the terrain is rocky and winding. C, they seem to be traveling at a normal pace. It looks like they'll be able to do the usual roughly 20 miles a day, Probably, unless at any point they are slowed down by terrain or by hazards,
So
or by
20 a
necessity.
day is optimal, let's say.
It might be optimal. However, they might also be sped up if they decide at any point to basically march double time to push it.
Mhm.
So they can optimize it further. So yeah, it absolutely depends on the route that they would take. However, you would guess anywhere from a week to 2 weeks.
Is there any further, like, judging and insight and thought into it Alsana's big brain can give in this?
I'd say you could roll an intelligence check.
Alright. We will guidance yourself.
18. All right. You're pretty sure that the easiest routes would be to basically follow along rivers or lake edges, just for the sake of having a ready and steady supply of water to keep them all going. If they are able to get or use any sort of transport that takes advantage of the flow of the river, it might speed them up a little bit. However, that would be quite a bit of it for this size of a force. So, depending on what they want to do, you're looking at probably 7 days if they are able to push at certain points. And knowing a little bit of tactics, it's very likely they would push a bit at the very end. So you have a week to prepare. And that's basically your smallest number. If you have more time, all the better. But don't plan for anything that would take 2 to 3 weeks and rely on it.
Also, just looks and it's like, optimally, all things going their way, 1 week.
Much can be done in some days. What do you have planned?
Further intelligence gathering is an option. However, and she kind of like think about it for a sec. If I'm to get, if there's anything I could do to get us close to them, I could employ some hit and run.
That would be our tactics within the forest, but we would not be able to do so on open plains. Is that your intent?
I would require open plains. If I were to hypothetically bring down a storm of fire upon them.
Well, it would certainly cause them hurt. We would be able to do so safely.
If I'm fully rested for the day, I could arrive us there, cast the spell, and then leave within a minute. That would be a large chunk of my resources for the day.
And it would be a risk. But if you would wish to take it, then I would not stop you. I trust that you know your abilities better than I.
She nods.
Incidentally, Alsana, give me a quick wisdom saving throw, please.
Uh-huh.
You do get the Calder bonus, because Calder is right there.
So 20.
So 20. Alright.
21.
Where was the 21? Oh, yes, it was a 16 plus 5. So, yeah. Alright, carry on.
So someone get any sort of inkling on that.
No, you do not.
Just roll a d20 and check my modifier at that point.
Okay.
No,
If
because
you
this
would
is
prefer
way more
that.
fun.
Alright, alright.
Okay.
She'll just look
The
and
conversation was on a hit and run.
Mhm.
So
just. I could do that, but. I don't know, is there any other options we're thinking about? In terms of direct confrontation in those 7 days? She looks to the group.
do any of you have any ideas for causing some problems? Or
Kane just smiles.
any other things in 1 week's time to defend Thief Thicket?
Oh, that depends on what sort of resources we're willing to expend and what sort of investigative talents they have. But answer me this, Calda. Do you think we could, or Alsana, do you think we could get Mori to follow them or fly ahead of them? Maybe a day ahead and possibly even to where their camp is. Think you could estimate whereabouts that would be?
Right now, no. If I gave another look or two into them, I could probably rough that out.
Because I do know that we have a ability to be set upon them a wonderful amount of snakes. And if we could have the charm a day ahead and nearby where they plan to camp, it might be a significant problem.
There's a kind of a scrunch on Alsana's face, and just... It's possible, but I'm not looking to abuse nature in the way that does.
In that case,
If it's a wide open field and I bring down flame or ice upon them, that's one thing, but...
well, then even better to pull some of the wildlife away from where you're going to bring all the flames. Or, being frank, if you really want to cause some damage, let's not set the flames in the middle of the day. Let's wait till they go to bed. Light their tents on fire. You want to cause real havoc? Do it like that. And honestly, if we can figure out where they're planning to cross some water, we can very easily prevent a crossing with a spell or two, I'm sure. Ability to control some water, freeze it, cause waves. It's easily enough to sink men in armor. And perhaps if you're willing to summon some angry sharks, I know firsthand how difficult they are to fight. If you get to the Moor Marsh and they plan to go through that, then even more issues. And if we can somehow convince Pridwin to maybe not set out on an attack, but make things difficult them, make them play the bureaucracy game to slow them down. Who knows? Could be useful.
I worry
I can go
exactly
on for
what's going
hours.
on. I worry what's going on in Pridwin such that they're able to march through that without worry.
Well, maybe we can cause some havoc there.
I'm not looking to cause havoc.
Not for the city. I mean for... oh, who knows? Maybe we break the gates at the mechanism to open them. Maybe we wait for them to leave just outside the city, or get the bulk of the army out of it, and... oh no, the gates have slammed down. Maybe crush a couple people, let's get them stuck inside. Having them deal with that will slow them down, and either force Pridwin to act or not.
More information on Pridwind.
Would be useful. And being frank, set me in their camps at night, and I bet you I can take out a good 30-40 of them.
Not with those undead.
I'll leave the undead to you.
I can't deal with them quick enough for you to do your thing.
Well,
I don't think any of us can.
then keep them away
Not
from
when
me
those
for
numbers.
the minute it would take. I have... he kind of gestures to the thorn sword. I have ways of keeping myself isolated from other enemies and making it difficult for them to get to me.
Yes, but then I'm looking for basic in and out tactics, not wade into the bodies.
Ah, guerrilla tactics. Should have said so from the beginning. In that case,
And I'm looking to target the undead more than anything.
well, I don't know how undead work. I know how armies work. But
Good.
if there's any
Take whatever
point
you
for
know about
passing-
armies and make them much more willing to follow orders and much less needing of food and water. That's undead forces.
Yes, do they wear armor? Do they need air to survive? Are flames especially good or bad against them? Do they run if there are flames? Do they panic? All those are important.
I mean, Alsana would know that, right?
Undead don't have any issue with fire. They're not afraid of anything. You're not going to incite panic in their ranks. By the way, at about this point, Elaris' head hits the table.
Fell asleep?
Elaris, you were following along. You were paying attention, kind of nodding with some of these things, thinking things over. And then all of a sudden, your eyes and vision go misty. And then dark. And you get a brief sensation of falling and then landing. But you don't actually land on anything. You just find yourself standing in that misty plane. But the mists right now are roiling around you. They are churning and swaying like waves. And you can feel here that rage simmering that had awoken you this morning. And there is a thunder in the distance. And after a moment, you make out Xanthus' voice through the thunder. And it just booms. They dare to take from the halls of the dead those which were relegated there for eternity. They dare. They counter the natural order. That soul was never to return. And as this booms again through you, from the words, from your own intuition, and just from the raw emotion suffusing the mists, get the sense that something happened this dawn. And the nightingales, at the very least, the other Alsana was at the center of it. And that it had to do with the Duskbell plant and its properties. Then suddenly as you fell into it, you blink and find your face kind of resting against the top of the table. You push yourself up, everybody else. Elaris' head hit the table, and then a moment later he's blinking and sitting up. It barely lasted an instant for you.
You okay there, buddy?
Did you just fall asleep? Oh god, is this that apnea you were talking about?
John, you are muted, by the way.
He might have stepped away for a second. There he is. Oh.
He's not happy.
Big guy?
He gives like a very nope. Not whatsoever.
What happened?
I'm not so sure. He was far too angry for me to even consider asking for details. But something tells me the Mirror You is responsible. She's done something to disrupt the natural order.
I mean, she usually does. That's her MO right now. What's different this time?
And he'll do his best to try and explain everything.
Duskbell. Can Alsana think on that? Is there anything
mean-
she can do there?
You know the properties of the plant.
Yep.
I'm going to say that anything that you can imagine as being something that messes with those properties is up to you.
Is it
Uh,
conceivable to Alsana's passive 26 alchemy you could reverse the effects of Dustbell and make something that is normally revivable again?
It's not something any alchemist has ever come up with, but in theory, everything has its opposite, so maybe it just hadn't been discovered.
You said that. I need to talk to him. If you'll excuse me one moment, and she says to the chief.
She's just watching all of this with some interest.
Pass of the dead.
Walks out the door and disappears.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Go ahead and roll that perception check.
Yep. With the guidance. Let's see.
Here we bloody go again! 32 still
Jesus
it's over
fucking
30.
Christ, Evan.
Here we go again.
I am Alsana.
Here we go again.
You step onto the same plane with roiling mists.
Kind of like holds a hand to her face despite.
You specifically can make out as you kind of move around a little bit. There's dry, bending, waving grass under your feet, and peppered throughout the grass, there are duskbell plants, also swaying and bobbing in this ethereal wind that hardly seems to touch you. And striding among them, back and forth, pacing in a towering rage, is the figure of Xanthus, but he is not humanoid size. He is not just barely above your height. He is as tall as a giant right now. His footsteps and his voice thunder through the planar atmosphere, let's say. And as he swings around, he happens to catch sight of you. You see him lift a hand briefly, as though considering taking a swat before he lowers it, as if he realized who you are.
It's the friendly one.
I am aware. He paces away and then back again in 3, for him, quick strides, but they carry him far enough away that if you followed at full speed on your broom, you might keep pace.
You'll give him a second.
He comes back. Why do you intrude on my domain?
I want to help. I want to fix whatever she did.
Do you know what she did?
I was given vague ideas from your champion. Who did she bring back?
He swoops down and scoops up a handful of dusk bells and lets them fall from his fingers.
She twisted them, didn't she?
No, not them. Their purpose remains unsullied. Those who die and are granted the touch of these, who drink them, who eat them, they are deaths forever. No magic can draw them back to the world of the living. Once they were intended to be permanent residents of death. And she has stolen this back. She has stolen one back. And now she can steal more. As many as she pleases, because she has found a way around this absolute law. He thunders off and then back again. Well, potion maker? Have you any thoughts on this?
Can Alsana theorize on this?
You can theorize as far as... Maybe it's not as absolute as thought. Maybe there's some rare magic or process that
He
found a
does
way
not want
around.
to hear that.
You're aware that new potions and techniques are discovered year by year. Same with new magic and new spells. Sometimes those jumps are bigger than others. You yourself have not started or performed any research into this specific area. I don't believe you've ever wanted to subvert the effects of a Dusk Bell. So you might not have the basis of research to theorize too deeply beyond that. In any event, Xanthus doesn't seem to be waiting for or expecting an answer. He's venting.
Yeah, and she'll just kind of like look over and just kind of like put a hand by one of the dust spells on the floor. If she bypassed them, then I'll have to bypass what she did. I want to strengthen this law.
He looks at you and shrinks down slightly, still easily twice the height of a normal human, but no longer towering at 15-20 feet. He looks and settles very slightly. You see that the ruff of feathers in his coat starts to settle slightly. He says, "See that you do. This is not something that should exist in any world. If you find how she did this, if there is some mechanic to it, destroy it. If there is a spell, find any writings she has made and burn them. If it is a potion, any stock she may have must be broken and spilled upon the ground."
She nods, and even so, this would be something that could happen again. Far past my existence.
Then find a way to prevent it forever.
If I do. These are... I've always had a fondness for these. She kind of like looks down at the bells again. Are they within your, let's say, domain?
He looks away and then towards the dusk bells. They are a border. Plants and living, growing things, births, and development. These are not my domains. They belong to others. But the unique properties of this one, they echo me. Inevitability, permanence, everlasting sleep.
If I find a way to strengthen them, to sharpen them, could I have your help distributing it?
I will intercede with those who share control over such things, and I will convince them.
I understand the importance, but I'd rather fix the problem than remove all knowledge of it.
He shrinks just a little bit further. Still about 10 feet tall. He looks at you and says, "I do mean for this knowledge to be destroyed.
She nods.
However, you may enhance these if such a thing is within your grasp. If that knowledge exists, it may become a base that is built upon further. And I will not be subject to a race of magic and knowledge and might to keep my own domain.
She shakes her head. It's the greatest border. It shouldn't be crossed.
Not without the proper allowances.
Nods. Oh, I suppose so. I guess I'm a bit of a, not the most innocent on that. But these specifically, these bells. They're a way for that permanence to continue on. I might even have a good place for the first blooms to grow once this is said and done. For them to spread. But for now, if I can create some sort of oil or elixir or anything that brings these to a deftly sharpened scythe, I will do so. Who am I to drag this scythe across? Who did she bring back?
I know not names. They are unimportant to me. But from where you sit, the location was to the east and somewhat south.
Plains?
Yes. There is a city of many souls there. That is where the magic was done.
Of course. These blooms are used for kings and royalty all the time. Bringing back a crater might be a way for them to get past. Who knows what else? I will make it so. I'll excise this.
You will have help. Inform my follower of my wishes.
Do not.
I would speak with him tonight, but you may be swifter. As you are here now.
It seems this needs a swift hand.
See to it.
She nods.
He turns into part of the mist, which has calmed considerably, though there is still a restless shifting to it as it drifts around you.
A light simmer.
Mm-hmm. With that, Xanthus is gone. At least from your immediate presence on this plane.
Asana plops down onto the floor of the ethereal and just goes, oh, he's angry.
Yeah.
As a side too, could Asana have given a glance at the chief when she was on the other side?
Okay.
Just anything interesting?
It's ghosts and spirits and, you know what? There is a light shimmering aura around her. Something that exists beyond her, but is attached to her, or part of her, perhaps. it's not something you'll have had experience with, and it's not something that you would recognize from any sort of books or documentation or anything of the sort. But it is something of interest and something unique to her, aside from and beyond anybody else in this room, or even if you poke your head out and look through the ethereal into the main room, anybody in there.
She'll take out her notebook and note that down real quick.
Okay.
And she'll reappear. You weren't
Okay.
kidding. He's mad.
An interesting visit with another entity on another plane?
Nods.
She has a way of getting in people's heads.
This one's patron.
Hmm.
Guardian on the border of life and death. And one who exists in the permanence of death.
Then what would such a being have to be angry about?
My other half. Are
More
you,
dead.
are you familiar with? And she just goes into her bag and pulls out a death bell.
She is immediately familiar.
She found a way to ignore these.
She is raising the dead beyond them.
Nods. Apparently in Pridwind. In that area in the plains.
If she raises the dead nearer the deep thicket, we may have less than 7 days.
I do have one idea of something we could possibly do.
He said
Yeah.
one idea, yes?
Yes.
Carry on.
We have vague knowledge of where that army is, but we have a better idea of how long it'll take them to get there. Let's take this chance to weigh the merit of what it means them not to have an army nearby. I say we give it a couple days, harry them on the way, yes. I say your flames would be a good way to do so. But once they're about midway through, they have a home, and they're going to be as far away as they can from it. If we go skulking around in there, just looking for information, or whatever we can find, we've got magic to hide as best we can. It's the best chance we'll have of the army not being there, and if we do get discovered, they'll have to decide whether to keep going on their march, or abandon the attack entirely. And if they choose to turn back and Pridwin sees that they're vulnerable, it could be a good conversational point for later.
I'm more worried about Pridwin now. We need to know more about Pridwin first.
Well, we got a couple days till they're as far away as I'd like them to be, so
And I need to do how is the what is alchemy in this society? She looks to the chief.
I am not sure what you mean. It is the creation of potions from various natural ingredients and the use of magic
Do
within.
you have any masters of it?
In the deep thicket. We have some who are adept, but none who would claim mastery.
Do you know any who would?
You would wish to go to a place of great knowledge and understanding. Umbarion may have some. Many of the capital cities may wish at least to lay claim to as much knowledge as possible, and would probably have one in attendance who could create potions as well as deconstruct them and understand them. In general, the more people you can find in a place, the more likely you are to find one of that particular shining intellect
Nods.
and practice. Has this knowledge changed anything?
In terms of
Preparations. I have instructions to give to my wardens. To begin laying traps, to begin preparing for attack.
I believe that should still stand.
The town of Tanager, how does it fare? Healthy?
As well as ever, as far as my knowledge is. It's
How-
the same with Hendas and Rossel. Naton to the north.
How acquainted are your folks with the defense and protection of that town?
Not at all.
Then they should probably be warned as well. If I were to march into the deep thicket, I'd want a place to retreat back to. And Tanager makes for ample ground if they just take it over. As
We
well,
do not often communicate, but I will send an emissary or two.
please. And how deep is your knowledge of the societies outside the deep thicket?
I have a working knowledge, but I am uncertain if it is outdated.
Then Orcish tribes. Where
Oh.
do they generally reside?
On the fringes?
Broken Hills, Moormarsh, Pridwin, where?
The Broken Hills. I don't know of any in the marsh. The Jade Ridges. The Riolets. There may be some on the borders of Pridwin, Redstone Peaks along the Swift River.
Alright. Then that might be another place for us to visit in our couple days before we actually make a major move. If they're going to be marching, the Broken Hills is a wonderful place for people more familiar with the land and not reliant on large cities to stage an attack from, to raid. They're the experts on guerrilla warfare. And if they see that there are bounties of, who knows, if they're bloodthirsty enough, they might wait for Tanager to get taken over and then simply march on Tanager against the weakened forces, and Deep Thicket can do the same on the other side. Throw us in the mix and you have quite the force. Or they can harry on the way.
A point on bounties. We do not use any currency or system of reward that they would likely be interested in.
Neither do they. They want weapons, glory, and blood. It's enough bounty for most of them. And perhaps open trade. Or at least the opportunity for it.
We do not trade. We keep to ourselves. We are willing to extend help to the towns on the borders, but we must look to the heart of the forest first. We protect something far more precious than merely a city or people.
In that case, I suppose it's best we see what the Broken Hills have to offer at some point.
Make no promises. It is not in your leave to give.
Oh, of course not. But if I promise them bloodshed and a chance to claim that they marched on an army of wretched forces, abominations in nature, and a civilized world attempting to take over all that is natural, I'm sure that they would at least consider it, and after I beat whoever's in charge in submission, possibly even more so.
If that is your wish.
We'll mark it down. I only have so many movements in a day.
That might be just due to the fish, though.
Well then. I think in that case, we should begin.
Preparations should be as they were. Just be aware of.
Mediated.
Just be aware of more threat of undead. just the ones they bring, but the ones they could raise here.
Believe me, we will be aware. With that, she stands up, opens the curtain, and heads out to begin to give her orders. And with that, I'm going to call this particular session to a close. We'll pick up again next week.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you let me know what you would like to have done, because there's a lot of preparation to do, and we might not need to go day by day for it. If we can touch on major points everybody has planned, all the better.
All
So, until then.
Until
next time.
then.